Let's do a simple version of Monopoly with some equations. So a monopolist is going to make its decision based on the demand conditions and the cost conditions that the firm faces. So we've got a particular example of a demand curve, which is negatively related to the quantity that is consumed. The more that's consumed, the less the marginal benefit of consumption, so it's downward sloping demand curve. The related marginal revenue curve is going to be equal to 50Q minus 8Q. That's the specific version of the marginal revenue based on that demand curve. One thing you'll notice is that the marginal revenue curve is twice as steep as the demand curve with the linear demand curve. That just happens to be the case because of some calculus. Don't worry about that. And we've got a simple version of marginal cost. This is not generally the case that we'll have constant marginal cost, but we're assuming it here, and we're going to assume that there's also no fixed cost, so that all the costs are embodied in the marginal cost. So let's take a look at what happens here. So what we have is that the monopolist is going to have the highest possible profits where marginal cost equal to marginal revenue. So we have the marginal cost is equal to 10, and that's equal to the marginal revenue, which is 50 minus 8Q. So 40 equal to 8Q. In other words, the quantity that will maximize the monopolist's profits is when Q star equal to 5. Okay, so now we have the quantity that's produced. Now we want to find out what the associated price is. So we've got the quantity, and we want to go back and look at the demand curve to determine the price. So we've got 50 minus 4Q, which in this case is 5. So what we have is 50 minus 20 is equal to 30. So the price, which is equal to 50, is greater than the marginal revenue, which is equal to the marginal cost. So one of the aspects of a monopolist is that it will be able to charge a price that exceeds the extra cost it takes to make the product. So let's translate this into a graph. So I've got this graphed according to the equations. So according to these equations right here. So we've got price equal to 50 minus 4Q. Okay, that's the demand curve. And the margin. So 50, and let me write that again. That's a little hard to read. 50 times Q minus 8Q, and that's given by, let's do this in red. So there we've got the marginal revenue curve, and the optimum quantity is 5. It's where this intersection occurs. And then we go up to the demand curve. Get rid of some of this. So that's the optimum price and quantity. Now this is again a graphical version of what we did right here. So we found Q star, we then plugged that into the demand curve to get 30. That's equivalent of finding this point right here, the blue dot, going up to the demand curve and going over to the vertical axis to get the price. Now, associated with this are going to be two things that I'm going to leave to you to calculate on your own. One is the consumer surplus, associated with this monopoly pricing, which is going to be equal to this triangle. Okay, so you've got, the standard 1/2 the base times the height to get the consumer surplus. And in previous videos, we had looked at the producer surplus. Here we're going to look at monopoly profit, which is going to turn out to be this blue box. That's the difference between the revenue, and let's just be very clear about this. The revenue is price multiplied times the quantity. So this red box. The cost is this red hashed region. If we subtract the cost from the revenue, we get the profits. So it's going to be equal to that rectangle. So I'm going to let you do that on your own to have the actual numbers, but you should be able to do that based on other things that we have done.